I'm Charlie Wright of Gold Derby, and today I am speaking with Dan Amira, the head writer of The Daily Show, a little show on Comedy Central, which airs Monday through Thursday at 11 o'clock. So the first question I want to ask you is, the big thing this year, of course, was seeing Jon Stewart return to the anchor desk uh, once a week. And I'm curious as to how did the idea come about of having Jon Stewart return to the show?
Well, I mean, this was much more high level than I was really a part of, so I don't know like all the ins and outs. But I think he became a free agent when his Apple show dissolved, and we didn't have a host, and he didn't have a show, and I think it just felt like a great timing, and everything just sort of fell into place, and it worked out great.
So, what's it been like? What's interesting about your tenure on the show is you got hired during Stewart's tenure, and you've been at the show ever since. So, I'm curious as to what's it been like to be at the show starting under John, and then going into Trevor Noah, and now the guest host setup. What's it been like to be at the show throughout those different eras?
I mean, first of all, it was great being able to start under John. I mean, that was my dream. My literal dream job was to one day work for Jon Stewart at The Daily Show. So how many people can say that they got that? I worked for him for a year and a half before I guess he, hated me so much he decided to quit entirely. And we got Trevor Noah. And that was a big shift. I mean, Trevor and John, both amazing, both talented, but very different voices, different styles. So you have to really shift your writing. And then we were with Trevor for 7 years, I believe. And it was kind of a crazy time. We went through COVID with Trevor. We did, I want to say, over a year of shows from his apartment, although that time is very hazy. It might have been 1 week. It might have been 5 years. I'm not really sure.
Everything blends together from that.
Everything blends together. I'm like, what was time in that period? We did COVID shows with him. We moved studios. We came back and did a show with no audience for a few months. We came back to our studio audience. Trevor left. We did the guest host era, which was last year. And we had guest hosts come in for a week at a time who had never hosted The Daily Show before, came in for a week, were gone, new person. That was crazy. And now we're back to John. So it was like a lot of turbulence at times. Especially in the past few years, a lot of changes, but I feel like really fortunate that I could work with Jon Stewart, Trevor Noah, and then the guest host here are some amazing, amazing people. And now back to John, which is like, you can't ask for anything better than that.
So one of the things that I've always been curious about in terms of, and this goes back to, when I first started watching the show 20 years ago, is I've always been curious as to how does the writing team navigate through all the media coverage that you guys have to comb through in order, to get, just to get a couple of the clips that you get on in one episode. I can only imagine all the media coverage that you have to pour through and watch and absorb. And I'm just curious, how do you do that? How do you divide it up amongst you guys? Yeah, how does that work?
I mean, we're all watching, paying attention to the news all the time. It's part of our jobs, and we're news junkies anyway. So if you see something, you can sort of flag it for everyone, say, hey, this crazy thing happened on CNN, or this guy said something ridiculous on Fox. But we also have a whole other department, the studio department, which is really dedicated to finding those clips, and they can pull off magic. We can say, and we're writing a headline where we really want 10 people saying, describing Trump falling asleep in court in 10 different ways. And they'll go, got it, let me see what we can find. And they'll go back. We have a program called Snapstream, basically records all of television and has a transcription of it, and you can search keywords, you can go through and click, different parts, save them, clip them, send them to us. So we have a whole other team that's really devoted to gathering these clips, making great montages, and finding like little nuggets of gold in the endless stream of cable news.
Um, what I'm also curious about is, I mean, you've seen this over just your time on on the show, particularly with the right wing. There are a lot more um, independent right wing news or information outlets that are more central to side's messaging, and has the increase in networks like like Newsmax and Real America's Voice, and oh, what was the other one? One America. Has
Right.
the increase in those outlets made it a bit more, made that more difficult?
I would say it's actually helped us a bit. When those networks first came on the scene, I remember us thinking like if we wanted to find a reaction from the right wing media, we basically just focus on Fox, and we'd say, oh, they said something on Newsmax, but like it's Newsmax. It's kind of out there. It's kind of extreme. We don't want to like platform those people. Now it feels like Newsmax is kind of the mainstream of the right wing, media ecosystem, and it's mainstream to certainly a lot of Republicans. So now, when we're searching for what is the right wing saying about this stuff, we'll look at Fox, we'll look at Newsmax, we'll look at OAN, or whatever it was called, One America.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we'll look at all that stuff. So honestly, it gives us more more options to choose from, um, and it hasn't made it harder. It's made it a little bit easier to find stuff.
So, you talked a bit about, like wanting to work at Daily Show and wanting to, work for John. I'm curious as to who were some of the other people that made you get interested in comedy and want to become a comedy writer.
Oh boy, I mean, I grew up watching Seinfeld religiously, The Simpsons religiously, and I think even though that's not what I do, I'm not writing scripted comedy. I think that just got me interested in that kind of stuff. I read everything from The Far Side to David Sedaris to John Stewart in book form. I mean, there's so many people that influence you as a comedy writer. Um, and honestly, I think at one point, so my first job out of college, I was an intern for New York Magazine, and it's not a comedy job, but they do have they cover politics and stuff, and sort of with a sense of humor. It's not straight comedy, but the fact that I sort of transitioned into writing for them um, made comedy a little bit more possible because I've never done stand up or anything like that, which is maybe a more traditional route to get to a late night writing job. But it's just sort of transitioned from like I'm working in media, I'm writing kind of funny stuff, and then getting in the world of the daily.
I can imagine that this must be a very rewarding job, but I can also imagine that with all the material that you have to consume, and especially with the current state of American politics, that it can be a lot to try to process and just try to get through sometimes. And what I was wondering is, how do you escape from being constantly surrounded by our current political situation?
I don't think we really escape it, to be honest. I mean, we're in it. Like, even when I'm on vacation, like I'm keeping up with the news because you have to know, you have to sort of have, you have to know everything that's happened so that you can cover even when you get back from vacation. So, like, imagine you're on vacation, you missed the fact that, Christy Noam murdered her dog, or that RFK had a dead worm in his brain. Like these are things that we are going to reference like throughout the rest of the year and hopefully beyond. So you have to like know everything that's going on all the time, even when you're not on the clock. So I would say we don't escape, and sometimes that can be rough.
Is there not even like a TV show that you could just like turn off your brain for like an hour and watch?
Oh yeah, I mean, whenever my 3-year-old decides to go to sleep, before 10 o'clock. I've watched plenty of other TV shows, but I definitely stay away from new stuff at that time.
Back in January, you guys had quite a night at the Emmys when the show picked up the Emmy for variety talk series, and I'm curious as to what was it like, to pick up to win that in January, especially for Trevor's final season, but also you beat your old boss in Jon Stewart because he was nominated for The Problem, and you guys managed to win over him. What was that all like for you?
The feeling of hearing your name called out, or not your name, but your show's name at the Emmys is it's like an out of body experience, especially when you're not expecting it, which I certainly was not expecting it because I read Gold Derby, and yes. Gold Derby, I think, had us fourth or fifth.
No, we had you fourth.
And so I'm like, you had us fourth. And I read it and I was like, well, these are the experts. I'm like, I guess I should just go in expecting to not win, which was actually great. It's great to go in expecting to not win, because if you win, you're pleasantly surprised. And if you lose, you're like, well, I prepared for that. So when they called our name, I was like, first thought automatically, I have to talk to Gold Derby about this. But second thought was like, wow, this is really what's happening. You sort of float up on stage. They move you to the back. They float around the back. Someone hands you a trophy. It's crazy. It's like a euphoric feeling for 10 minutes.
Was it a bit more comforting to be the fact that this was a category where so many people went up on stage? It's one of those categories where a good collective of people will be up on stage. So at least you can be you have other people around you that make you feel like, okay, I'm grounded here, and I'm staying in reality.
Yeah, we had about 1,000 people up on stage. Sorry, I've got a siren going by. We got about 1,000 people going up on stage because not only did everyone who was actually nominated come up, all our writers came up, all our correspondents came up. So we just brought the whole team up and just had a big party up there. I definitely didn't feel any pressure to have anything to say or look in a certain way because I'm lost in a sea of people.
Well, Dan, thank you so much for joining us. We wish you all the best over these next couple of months. And to all of our viewers, please like, share, and subscribe to this video. And don't forget to go to goldderby.com to update your Emmy predictions in advance of the nominations coming out on July 17th. Thanks so much, Dan.
Thank you for having me. It's great talking to you.